but it's been a colorful week in Indianapolis. Wednesday, Keeker saw a silver lining, but Drinan was feeling a little blue. Skinner is the truck world's new man in black, and tonight, the Bush boys are looking for green. But tomorrow, all eyes will be on the pot of gold stashed here. And so a question, who can stop the Rainbow Warrior? The sign of a happy promoter. The seats are all sold at Indianapolis Raceway Park for the Kroger 200, but the seats right now are filled with folks with umbrellas because it is raining. That has been the story of the day here in Indy. Hello, everyone. I'm Dave Despain. You just saw Bob Jenkins. He's busy over at the other racetrack here in town. I'm here live at Indianapolis Raceway Park, anticipating the start of what we hope will be the Kroger 200, which follows us immediately, although I must confess it is going to be rain delayed here this evening. The most recent in a series of showers has moved through here, and we've dried this racetrack out about 3 times already today, and they're working on that project yet again. The second annual Brickyard 400 has made this the absolute center of the racing universe. I love IRP. We come here all the time in the summer. This week it's been very, very busy, and the highlights of the Silver Crown competition, the truck race, and the midget action are all among our highlights that we'll be showing you here this evening. We're also going to talk, of course, about qualifying over at IMS. Happy birthday, Jeff Gordon. He's the story of the week. We'll have an exclusive interview with Scott Pruitt on the heels of that terrific victory in the Michigan 500, and we're going to take a special look at those throughout history who were not the first, but rather the second to finish first. All in all, it's going to be a fun show. I think we should kick it off with qualifying. This is, after all, the race that Jeff Gordon practically owns. He won the race last year. He's the hometown boy. It's his birthday. Let's take a look at yesterday's qualifying. When Bobby Hamilton took Richard Petty's Pontiac out to play, the speed to beat lower left was 170.969. He didn't beat it. He ripped it up, threw it on the ground, and stomped on it. He ran 172.222 miles an hour to take the temporary pole, and he was disappointed.
I wrote down on a piece of paper I thought I could run a 17. I'm not going to say I'm disappointed, but I thought we could have run a 17. I got in a little too hot right here, and it hurt me through that bit of the corner right there, but the guy's done a fantastic job on his car. I mean, the first lap on the racetrack is a 53 flat with it. And Benny, we've changed 2 shocks in 1 spring, and we're right back to what we unloaded with, so that just goes to what they did at the shop.
Tell you what, Hamilton's speed hung for a long, long time, one after another. The fastest cars stepped up to the plate. Sterling Marlin came up short. He's third at 171.5 miles an hour. But late in the day, what a thrilling moment. Here he comes, the defending champion, the Wonder Boy. Watch him out of 4. Yahoo! Just about out of the park, but he saves the car and runs 172.5 miles an hour, the fastest lap in Brickyard history.
But I pushed it as hard as I could possibly push it, and I come off 4, and it started to come around, and I said, I can't lift, and I didn't, but it got pretty sideways.
Scare you a little bit?
It scared me a lot. I thought, I'm going to spin out in front of a lot of people that are really rooting for me, and, we can't let that happen, and God was with me on that one, I guarantee it.
And his accountant was also close by. 40 grand from Bush, a total of $90,000 in cash for the richest pole on the Winston Cup Tour. Drivers qualified yesterday and were locked in. Hamilton outside row 1 alongside Gordon, Marlin, and Elliott sharing row 2. Then Bobby Labonte, another good qualifying run for Joe Nemechek. Michael Waltrip. And how about Jeremy Mayfield in row 4? There's some excitement for you. Rick Mast, last year's pole sitter. Kenny Schrader out to turn his season around. Trickle and Bodine sharing row 6 in a pair of Fords. Earnhardt, another average qualifying effort alongside Mark Martin. Terry Labonte and Greg Sachs was terrific in a one-shot deal. Bobby Hillen scraped the wall and still made row 9 with Jeff Burton, Musgrave, and Waltrip round out those who were locked in qualifying yesterday. Unfortunately, there was no second round qualifying today because of the rain. They did get in a few practice laps right at the end of the day. No qualifying is bad news for Dave Marcus. He has no provisional. He'll not race tomorrow. AJ Foyt never got up to speed. He's not in the show either. Here's a look at how the rest of the field qualified. At Indianapolis Raceway Park, driver introductions underway, anticipating the start. The weather window that traditionally moves over from Terre Haute is about to arrive here and allow us to dry out this racetrack and get this race underway. And we, of course, are Speed Week, and we're contemplating what should be a terrific run here this evening. At the end of our first segment, you may have noticed that Elton Sawyer required a provisional to get into the field at the Brickyard, but he sure didn't need that here yesterday afternoon. He went out late with the shadows lengthening on a very hot day, and he blistered this racetrack to take the pole for this evening's running of the Kroger 200. He'll start at the head of the field, and the rest of the field will line up like this. Johnny Benson, championship contender, alongside Jason Keller and David Green in row 2. Bobby Dotter was the 5th fastest qualifier in the session that ran here yesterday. Hevron, Sadler, Fedua, Rumley, and Houston, Fedua actually, rounding out your top 10 in the time trials. Now, NASCAR has got to be thrilled with the way their season is going, not only in the Winston Cup division, where we have a terrific point battle, but also with the Super Trucks by Craftsman. You saw him here last night, another great championship battle. And right here in this division, we got a couple of great drivers, hammer and tong for the title. Bill Weber caught up with them just before the most recent rain shower.
Well, Dave, it should be an interesting race here tonight for sure. Chad Little comes in here off his 6th victory of the season on a short track at South Boston, Virginia just a week ago. But Chad, IRP hasn't been very friendly to you so far here this weekend.
No, we kind of had a rough time so far. We got into the wall a couple times and just couldn't quite find the right groove. But the track was coming up a little bit, and quite a few cars got into the wall, so I wasn't alone. I just think trying a little too hard, and you know how people have a way of humbling you, and I think that's God's way of telling me it's get back down to earth. You know, you're not as good as you think you are. So we're just gonna have to try to do a good job and keep Johnny behind us the rest of the year.
Well, Chad assumed the point lead. He leads Johnny Benson by 14 points after last week's victory. Johnny, you're coming back here hoping to recapture that point lead at a track that, do you think this track owes you one?
I don't know if it owes me one. You know, we've had a good run the last time we were here. Just come up that little bit short of winning it. And, you know, just everything's been going good. Base Motorsports team's doing a good job. And, you know, Chad's been doing a great job catching us. And, you know, he don't need any humbling. He's been running good. He's, you know, won a lot of races. And, you know, but, you know, hopefully we got a good car for this race today. And we're going to see what we can do.
Well, Johnny Benson had a strong run here yesterday in the Super Truck Series. It has been raining here most of the day, overcast right now, but each of these gentlemen is hoping the sun will shine on them when the checkered flag falls here tonight. Dave, back to you.
Well, since that was recorded, of course, it has begun to rain again. Joining in the activity here this evening will be John Kernan. He's going to be our second pit reporter. This is an historic occasion for the Busch Grand National Series, and I believe that moments before this latest rain, John found out the reason why.
Dave, in Winston Cup, it's not uncommon to have three brothers running in a race because you have the Bodines and also the Wallaces. But would you believe in the Busch Series, it has never happened, not until tonight at IRP. Of course, you know Jeff and David Green of the Green family. Well, they will be joined by their brother Mark, who is the middle brother. And Mark, a historic evening for the Green family.
Yeah, we didn't know about it till they announced it a while ago, and it's very exciting for me and my two brothers. My brothers are pretty famous, you know, as of now, and I'm kind of the unknown, but we're really excited to come up and get an opportunity to race. I'd like to thank my car owner, Clarence Brewer, and we've got a very good car, top-notch stuff, and we just We wanted to make the race, and we've got that out of hand. Now we want to just finish the race and we just get some laps.
Well, good luck tonight. Mark will start 28th. Starting fourth, the elder statesman of the Green family. It's got to be pretty special for you, too.
Well, it is, John, like Mark said, but the biggest thing is to come to IRP, close to Owensboro, and all of us be in here, and I'm pulling for Jeff and Mark just as hard as myself, but I feel good tonight. Slim Jim Monte Carlo is awesome, and Bobby, if you're watching, I know you're not coming, so root me on, buddy.
Of course, Bobby is car on and getting ready for the Brickyard 400 for tomorrow. And Jeff, I couldn't locate him, but he does start 21st tonight, Dave.
All right, thank you very much, John. I wrote a headline for that story. The Greens have the genes. We're going to shift into our highlight mode now. It's been a very busy week here at Indianapolis Raceway Park, and ESPN's been all over it, and it's just a widespread variety of action. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. Right here at Indianapolis Raceway Park, a USAC doubleheader Wednesday night, Silver Crown and Midgets trouble in qualifying. Dodie Miller smacks the turn one wall of the Silver Crown car and unfortunately was done for the evening. Another guy who didn't make the show, George Snyder, 1990 winner of the race. Watch for the smoke off the tires. Ziggy passed on the last turn of the last lap by Jimmy Brewer. That is for the final transfer spot. Main event, Jimmy Keeker started on the pole for the 60-lapper, took the early lead despite the challenge on the bottom by the black and pink car. That is Mike Bliss. And here is Bliss closing in on Jack Hewitt. You're riding with Jack when the car breaks. And I'll tell you what, that dropped the Richmond winner right out of this thing. Keeker held off several late attempts at a pass to pull off the win.
2 laps before the white flag came out, I'm thinking to myself, there can't be more than about 15 or 20 laps left. I'm going to hang this thing out. And I saw that white flag, is like, I can do this from here.
That was Tony Stewart putting all the pressure on, but coming up short, Kenny Irwin Jr., Mike Bliss, and Davey Hamilton rounded out your top 5 finishers. On to the Midgets, trouble early in the feature. Tice Carlson and Ryan Newman touch wheels. This is no Tommy Tipover. This is a major flipola down the front straightaway. We can joke about it now because Newman was okay, but boy, that was an ugly ride right in front of the big crowd. This kid left his mark on this place. Under the red flag, Danny Drinan and the crew were able to quickly change a battery that kept Drinan on the lead lap. That may not be a good thing because he was in position to make this move on number 9, Stewart, and he blapped him, and they both got into the wall. Needless to say, Stewart a little unhappy. He and his car owner, Bob East, pointing out this is the second time that this has happened with Drinan. More on that in a moment. Danny, who damaged the tail tank of the car in the incident, was still able to make a pass on Andy Mishner for the lead on the restart. He led the thing the rest of the way and picked up the victory, but, well, he isn't exactly overjoyed in victory lane. Perhaps Drinan knew what was coming next. We'll get to that in a moment. Take a look at the results. It's Drinan, Mishner, Irwin, Tolsma, and Gerster. And in terms of the championship series, Mishner holds a 29-point lead over Drinan, Gerster, Parsons, and Runyon rounding out the top 5. All right, those point standings reflect USAC's disciplinary action against Drinan. He did keep the win for what it was worth. They did not get the 30 points that were awarded to the, or normally awarded to the feature winner. And as a result, you notice he's 29 behind Mishner. He would have had the point lead. He was also fined $1,000, and most importantly, he was slapped with a 2-race suspension. Now, that was on Wednesday night. They had the open wheel activity out here. Put the fenders on for last night, and I'll tell you, it was terrific. It was a race that I hope a lot of you saw here on ESPN. Let's go back to the highlight reel last night at this racetrack. The Kroger Festival of Speed brought the NASCAR Craftsman Super Trucks to Indianapolis. New surroundings, but familiar circumstances. Mike Skinner, business as usual. His 9th pole of the year, 12th of the year for Chevrolet. He's got Johnny Benson alongside from the Busch Grand National Wars as they go to turn 1. Skinner took the lead, led every lap. That doesn't begin to tell the story. There were 3 cautions for blown engines and for a variety of spinning trucks. All the way Skinner remained out front, but boy, did Benson chew on his tailgate. Then Mike Bliss spun just before halfway, and that triggered a 5-minute session of extensive repairs. Bliss had come from 14th to 5th in a tremendous run, but of course the spin and the crash disrupted that. After the restart, Skinner resumed the lead. Benson now a distant second. Meanwhile, Jeff Bodine, strong all night, goes after Benson, clunk. There's contact. Bye-bye, Bodine. It's tough to steer one of those babies when you've got another truck hanging off your right front fender. Most bizarre event of the night. Last lap. Skinner's headed for home free. Gary St. Amant out of the pack, going for position. Gets her sideways, slides into the infield, and boom, boom, out go the lights. He was okay. It was a pretty hard hit, his second in as many weeks. Skinner, as we said, led every one of 150 laps to take home Chevrolet's 11th win of the year. Tell you what, this has been a fun place to hang out this week. We're going to take a break here on SpeedWeek, and when we come back, we will review that wild finish at Michigan and have an exclusive interview with the winner, Scott Pruitt. The cars are covered up. We hope it's not for long. The Kroger 200 scheduled next on ESPN, delayed by rain here this evening. Last week at Michigan, Parker Johnstone sat on the pole for the 500. Second time in history, someone has gone out for their first oval track qualifying attempt and ended up on the pole. Who did it the first time? Walt Faulkner, 1950. But the race itself had a terrific finish. ABC had to leave early. We've got the winner interview.
Scott, let me give you this scenario. It's the Michigan 500. There's 2 laps to go. The national champion is leading, and somebody tries to make an impossible outside move and pulls it off and wins his very first race. I mean, it sounds like a fantasy dream, and yet it comes true for you. I mean, that has to be such a feeling of satisfaction that you made that happen.
I mean, just like you said, you couldn't write a better script. I mean, Patrick and Penske, Lola cars against Penske cars, Ford against Mercedes-Benz, and Firestone against Goodyear. And, I mean, it came down to the last lap shootout between Little Al and myself, and we managed to drag race to the checkered flag.
Take me through the last 2 laps. Describe to me the thoughts inside your helmet as Al Jr. began to come down and fill your rear-view mirrors.
Before the yellow, I tried to get as big a jump as I could, coming off the back straight. And then, you know, 3 or 4 laps later, you know, you see him closing. The biggest thing was to keep focused on the race. I mean, keep focused on what was going on. Don't get excited. Just, you know, keep focused on the business at hand. And even when he passed me, it wasn't like, oh, you know, it's more like, okay, you know, we aren't done yet. I mean, we still have an opportunity for this. And he came down up, I mean, he drove around me on the outside, and then I got as much of a draft as I could going down the back straight. If you saw, he was trying to break the draft, I'm trying to get the draft. And then going down in there, I knew my only opportunity was going to be real high, and I knew he was going to be going high. So if you saw the video, I mean, I'm clear up in the gray, and he's just up to the gray. And I think I got up enough around him where when he realized I was there, it was already too late.
Apart from your own personal success, the weight of the corporate world, being Firestone, is also with you that day. I mean, you gave them the biggest day of the return of the legend. I mean, they must have been delighted with what went on.
I think they're still partying as we speak. No, it's, I mean, that's, you know, I've had such a long history with Bridgestone and Firestone, and, you know, for them to be out 20 years and for them to make their entry into the sport this year and being as competitive as it is, for them to run up at the front and now to win, I think is huge, and I was just proud to be part of that whole combination.
How many times have you replayed the tape of the last 10 minutes of Michigan?
Well, I've seen it quite a few times. But it always turns out the same. That's the part I like a lot. I mean, you know, it's funny, I go over and over and over in my mind going, man, I wonder if, what if that, what if that, what if this, what if that? But I go, well, it didn't happen. I mean, we still won. We still came home, you know, in first at that race. And that was such a, I mean, it's one of those races that'll go down in the history books. For me personally, and I think for IndyCar racing being the second closest race in history, 500 miles, I think it just shows the true, that's the true essence of the sport. I mean, the competition like we have it now, and you know, all the manufacturers are involved, and when we can run that hard, that long, and come down to a finish like that, I mean, IndyCar racing is the place to be.
Congratulations on creating a very big part of IndyCar history, and let's hope that it may be the first of many more wins to come.
Certainly hope so. Thank you.
I tell you, Pruitt's a class guy, and Derek Daly did a heck of an interview, even though I didn't give him much of an introduction at the top. Got some quick IndyCar news. Jacques Villeneuve going to Formula One. Bet on it. He tested the Williams this week. I understand he was only a half second off the time that Damon Hill ran in the same practice session. It's not any kind of a done deal, but the test session always is the first step in that direction. That kid is a jet. The Penske protest at Portland. Unser Jr. wins the race, disqualified for insufficient ground clearance. That has been denied by IndyCar, but Penske will appeal. Danny Sullivan, injured at Michigan, released from the hospital here this afternoon. He's going to be on crutches for about 6 weeks. Juan Manuel Fangio was named today to be his replacement, and that pretty well gets you up to date on what's happening in the IndyCar world. Track drying continues. I hate the trucks when they're just running around drying out the racetrack. We'll be back with more on Speed Week in a moment. The rain has stopped in Indianapolis. The track is drying. We hope to get the Kroger 200 for the Busch Grand National cars underway shortly. It's Brickyard 400 weekend. No one will ever forget that Jeff Gordon won the first one. We come back for the second one to run tomorrow, and we begin what we think will be a long tradition here at this racetrack. But the question will be, who won the second one? Quick pop quiz. Who won the second Daytona 500 in 1960? Do you remember? Who won the second Indy 500 in 1912? Let's go to Donald Davidson.
Dave, in our society, we tend to identify only with the first-timers. If everybody could remember everything that happened thereafter, well, I'd probably be out of a job. The winner of tomorrow's Brickyard 400, unless it was to be a repeat by Jeff Gordon, would probably be remembered as a very good trivia question. Let's look at some of history's other firsts and seconds. Let's begin with an easy one. He qualifies because this was, of course, the race to the moon. Apollo 11's Neil Armstrong uttered those most famous words as he became the preeminent astronaut. But do you recall who was second down the lunar ladder? The answer? Edwin Buzz Aldrin. By the way, we last saw Buzz as the Grand Marshal of last year's Die Hard 500 at Talladega, giving the command,
"Drivers, energize your ground craft."
This one's a little tougher. On October the 14th, 1947, Chuck Yeager climbed aboard the X-1, named Glamorous Glennis, and broke the elusive sound barrier with the right stuff called Mach 1. The space race was on. His successor? Well, it depends on who you talk to. Civilian pilot Scott Crossfield quietly broke Mach 2 in November of 1953, but just before it was to be nationally publicized, Yeager took the X-1A, hit Mach 2.4, and when the press got wind of another barrier broken, Yeager was on top again. Back down to earth in 1911, Indianapolis. These pictures have left an indelible mark as the first go-around in the greatest spectacle in racing. Winner Ray Haroon, who probably didn't know it at the time, became an icon of trivia and a cult hero to many. So what about 1912? It turns out that more people are aware of who didn't win. Ralph De Palma led 196 of the 200 laps, then broke down just over a lap from the checkered. He and his riding mechanic tried to push the car home as into the lead and onto victory sped 23-year-old Joe Dawson. And now for the reason we're here. There are many things about 1959's first Daytona 500 that have been etched into memory. The pristine new high-bank track with gleaming metal stands, the thrilling photo finish, the magical name of Petty that was declared winner after 3 days of scrutiny. Daytona 500 number 2 came along as the 60s dawned. And in 1995, the 1960 Daytona 500 winner is still very much a part of Winston Cup. Out of a field of 68, Junior Johnson claimed his first and only Daytona win. So, good luck to all of the participants in tomorrow's Brickyard 400. Whoever is the first one to hit these bricks at the conclusion of the race won't be the first to have ever done so, but they'll be in some pretty fine company. For Speed Week, this is Donald Davidson.
As we go to break, let's take a look at our CarQuest racing calendar. For all of your auto parts needs, you'll find it at CarQuest. Crowds are Johnny, the jet dryer, is on the racetrack. You may be able to hear it in the background. The Kroger 200 for the Busch Grand National cars is scheduled to go at 8 o'clock here this evening. And look who has joined me. I got the doctor. We called the doctor. Jerry Punch is going to anchor the show tonight. Ned Jarrett will join him as expert analyst. Got a couple of minutes here at the end of the half hour. Jerry, first, what do you anticipate tonight, assuming we can get this thing in?
It is always a wild scramble here at Raceway Park. I mean, you talk about what you've seen the last couple of nights here in racing, back to the Silver Crown on Wednesday night. You showed the highlights a little bit ago, and the truck race, what a wild finish last night in that truck race. But remember a year ago, Ned, what a finish we had here. Mike Wallace led most of the race as Johnny Benson makes the pass, cuts a tire with 3 laps to go, and boy, what a scramble at the finish. Mike Wallace coming back to win it.
I think we would be remiss if we didn't get this guy's view of what might happen out here tomorrow at the Brickyard 400. A single question, I guess. Can anybody beat Jeff Gordon?
I think that's the question on every driver's mind and every team in the field, Dave. He has had such a great year already. And then, of course, his win here last year, winning the pole for tomorrow's race. Everybody knows he's the man that they got to beat. No question about it. But they don't roll over and play dead. You know how these Winston Cup drivers and teams are. I mean, they give it their best shot. And certainly with the purse that Tony George and people have put up there, they're going all out in every way possible. And it was good they didn't get the second round qualifying in today, but at least they did get on the track for a little bit of practice.
A little bit of happy hour right at the end of the day. Thank you guys. Have a great show tonight. Jerry and Ned will bring you the Busch Grand National race. Who's going to win tomorrow? We ask the fans. Jenkins, you got a fun show here. I got to try to steal this gig. I'm Dave Despain. I'm out of here.
Who's going to win this thing?
Bobby Labonte.
Earnhardt!
Gordon!
Rusty Wallace!
Rusty Wallace! Capelli. Me, I want Mark Martin. Dale Earnhardt!